Anytime I do something that you appreciate, please feel free to clap because I know that the energy is in the room, yes? So if I did something good, please clap as well. So as I introduced myself, my name is Flavilla, and people really hire me when they want to take the overwhelming feeling of building and growing a brand. It's quite difficult when you don't know what you do. And what I'm going to do today, I'm not going to tell you how to build your brand. I'm going to show you, we're going to talk about neuromarketing more specifically. Are you excited? Yeah. Hey, that's the energy I like. But before we start, we're going to talk about war. War. None of us was there during World War I, and World War II. Maybe we have some grandparents who were involved into this. But the reason why I talk about war, because when as you can hear from my accent, French-born, Parisian-born, I'm born in the ghetto of Paris, not the beautiful part, but your path doesn't define your future. And one thing that I love about when I was at university, my favorite subject was psychology. And my psychology teacher, and that's how I got into also neuromarketing, my psychology teacher told me about this man. Has anybody heard about this man, Kurt Lewin? Anybody in this room? One person. This is amazing. It's the first time actually I get to remember somebody know Kurt Lewin. So Kurt Lewin was very influential. He's this guy who was actually the godfather of modern social psychology. Half German, half American, and he had a lot of responsibilities. And honestly, check it out, because if you are in leadership or if people management or just behavior in general, he's made a massive impact and released some great books. So check it out. And obviously, feel free to take some screenshots for the presentation because you're going to learn a few things. The reason why I talk about him is because he made a massive impact during World War II. So if you can imagine, as you can see from the map, I think this is a map from World War I, but there was a massive shortage of food. I feel like we're actually living the same thing right now. Price surge of food, you've heard about it, Brexit. We're going to be almost the same situation where we're going to have to choose what we eat. But what was very interesting is during World War II, if you think about the wealthy people, they don't want to eat things like that, do they? Anybody eat stripes, liver? All of you are very posh people, okay? Living your best life. It's actually quite nice. Liver is really good for for yourself. But anyway, so imagine to convince wealthy people you have to eat that, And again, I bring back to, in the black community, especially in the Afro-American, they talk about soul food. Soul food was very much, whatever we don't want to eat, we'll give it to you, and they still manage to make it super delicious. By trying to convince the rich to eat this food when there's soldiers trying to fight over the country and trying to convince them. And that was really, really hard. But this man was very clever. He said, what do you think he did? Before I tell you the answer, what do you think he did? How did he convince people to eat, the not so good part of the meat, the wealthy people? What do you think he did? Anybody can guess? I forgot. I like this. That's actually, you're not too far away, Andrew. I really like that. One thing I'm going to do, I forgot to say that at the beginning. If you take a good photo of me on stage, because I look good, so if you take a good photo of me on stage, yes, and at the same time, you put what you enjoy about this talk, I'm going to give a present to the best feedback, yes? So I'm making super interactive so we can play as well on social media, and feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. So what he did a little game. A psychology game. So in one room, he put wealthy people and say, hey, why don't you eat, the not so good part? We need to save the soldiers. On the other side, this is what he did. What would convince you to eat organ meats? Instead of imposing for them to do it, because what happened, the room that was told, eat meat, eat this type of organ meat, didn't do it. They went back and lived their best life and forgot about the rest. The way he played on it, he actually played on the why. The soldiers are out there trying to save our lives, save our country. What would convince you to eat this organ meat? So instead of giving them the answer, he put them into a picture, a bit like what Adrian said before. And that was a massive game changer. So what he decided instead was really to come with some ideas in terms of how can we also convince the rest of our community to be more mindful about the choices when it comes to food, so our soldiers can be strong, because we know how good protein is for our performance. So that worked really, really well. And this is how it came up. So when you think about mince pie, everything that you eat right now, this is all influenced by things like that. Yes? Was it a good piece of learning? Give me a clap if you liked it. Yeah! Okay, good, fantastic. All right, so I must say, I haven't been in this country for 20 years. I still haven't had mince this pie. Because I know about that story. So yes, so anyway, but I think sometimes you have to think in terms of when you're trying to convince something that they don't want to do, what is the big idea that you're trying to sell? In this case, patronizing was a good way to influence them. So I really advise you to check out what Kurt Lewin did. And even though he's no longer in this world, he had a massive impact. You might be wondering, what do I talk about that? Yeah, what does it have to do with neuromarketing? Like this beautiful gentleman is asking, what is this about? What do I should care about? The reason is very simple, it's because people lie. Yes? When you ask questions to your customers, even when they answer survey, they will tell you something, but they mean something else. There's one thing that you cannot trick, it's your brain. Yes? Do you agree? Yes? And nowadays, as a marketer, and if you do marketing or if you do advertising campaign, we spend billions is wasted on campaigns that don't work because your customer told you A, but in fact they meant B. And this is a great example of why you should pay attention and how you should use psychology, marketing psychology effectively. Yeah? So far so good? Yes, I'm trying to make it super exciting. Okay, before we get into the subject, before I give you the juice of the juice so you can go out there and make some magic, I want to talk about the evolution of our relationship with our audience. And I want to take an example, which was Nike. Because Nike is a global brand, and trust me, they went through a lot to still be where they are. There's a film that's coming out very soon with the story of the Jordans. If you haven't seen it, I know I'm going to go and watch it. But you think about the relationship, 50s, 70s, it was very much about how to use the product. New innovation came into the market. People didn't know how to use the fridge, a microwave. It was a very much descriptive communication. People then from the 70s, 90s was like, wait a minute, I don't want to wear the same trainers as my neighbor. I want to look fancy. I want to have different type of trainers for different activities. It was more about the choice. So you didn't have one pair of trainer. You had 25 pair of trainers. Like me, I have about 250 pair of shoes. Everybody has the addiction. This is mine, can't help it, And then something happened. Social morals, in this era still, where sustainability, ESG is very important. I don't want to wear a pair of trainers where kids, are in sweatshop suffering, and they had to do something about it, which explains why Primark is more expensive than it used to be. But that's another topic. And then everybody knows Simon Sinek. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of him. Yes, very, very famous, and it talks about the why. Nike is not about just running, yes? It's about unleashing the athlete in you, no matter where you are, no matter where you come from, no matter how you look. And you can see when the way they advertise, and I always say that to my clients, do not play the same game as large companies, because they already established themselves. What they're selling is lots of the why. When you're at the beginning, you still focus on different aspects which are key when your credibility and authority is not there. Do you agree? Okay, fantastic, yes. So we move then in the 70s and in 2010s to the why. So in which era are we? I want to see if you pay attention. Yes, that's a year. But more than that, Drew, what exactly are we in? So we talked about the price, the choice, simple. Where are we right now? More than that, I'll tell you the answer. It's in your pocket. Yes, I heard digital. Yes, digital, but going further, we're in the era of emotion. We need to have digital, yes. And whoever you are, I'm going to give you a copy of my book, so make sure that you reach out to me and say, I was me who said it. So as you think about Nike, your community now drives you. When you build community, you win. And I'll tell you a secret, as I mentioned at the beginning, I've created more than one business just because I'm crazy. But at the same time, I have fun with it. I play it, and I test it for myself before I actually apply it to my clients. And I created a non-profit organization, which now is a global organization with more than 12,000 people around the world. We work with the most amazing brands, AWS, Apple, PlayStation, the brands that are just impossible to get. We got all of them, and we never spend a single penny in advertising. We use the power of community hacking. From the start, we made our clients the hero of the story. And from that, they became the advocate of our brand. And they work from the biggest company, say, hey, I want you to support this organization. Hey, if you want to keep me, you're going to have to support this organization. They use the power for the benefit of a company. And this is a power that you can use in everything that you do. And quite often, these events are a community. It's a tribe that Jews have built. Where is your tribe? If you don't have a tribe, you just have customers. And you haven't tapped into the opportunities that the market out there is giving you. Don't be afraid of a cancel culture. Be active on social media, not every day, but as often as people can really fall in love with who you are as a business. Does it make sense? Yeah. Would you do it? Okay, give me a clap if you're going to do it. Hey! All right. I will challenge you. I know who you are. I will check out on you online what you do. Okay, let's talk about the brain now. Now we get into the subject. Are you excited? Yeah. Have you exercised this morning? Yeah. You've exercised this morning? No. I was about to say, that sounds like a lie. We're going to exercise right now then. Okay, we're going to do a little game. It's all about the right part of your body. From your point of view, it looks like I'm using left, but it's the right part of your body. I want you to draw the number 6 in the air as fast as possible. And at the same time, turn your leg clockwise at the same time. All together. Are you suffering? I love this. This is so much fun. This is the favorite part of my talks. I love doing this. Was it hard? So let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you're in control of yourself? Yes? Okay, so let's talk about the brain. So the brain, the simplest way to explain it, there's more complicated explanation, but I want to give you the simple part. The brain is divided in 3 parts: limbic system, neocortex, and the reptilian brain. I'm going to explain how each of them works, all right? Because there's a quiz at the end of this, so really pay attention. So the first part is your reptilian brain, which is your instinct, your survival. If you see a bear, please do not try to fight a bear, run, yes? So really what you do when you face a situation, how do you react? This is about instinct. The second part of the brain, which is your limbic system, will control your emotion. How do you react after a breakup? Are you like a burrito? Yeah, under the duvet and trying to ice cream and satisfy yourself? And then when it comes to the last part is the neocortex. I can't speak properly. Your neocortex, which is your logic. And you can see that controls what you're using right now is your neocortex. You're learning new skills. It requires much more effort. You're wondering, does God exist? Is it ever going to be world peace? Probably not going to happen tomorrow. But yes, the big questions you use your neocortex. And you can see from the size of the brain, each of them take different parts. So, which organ takes the most energy in our body? It's obvious. It's on the screen for you. Yeah. I can see that you're not using your neocortex anyway. So yeah, so the brain takes the biggest part of the brain. So now breaking it down, okay, so I'm going to ask you the second question. Which part of the brain do you think has the biggest impact on our decision process? Okay, raise your hand if you think it's a reptilian brain. Raise your hand if you think it's a limbic system. Raise your hand if you think it's the neocortex. Oh, come on, people, neocortex, you know we never make a rational decision. That can never be rational, this part. I'll tell you the answer. Actually, the part of the brain that has the biggest impact on our decision process, as much as you think that is emotion, is actually the reptilian brain. Think about it. When you go on Amazon, what do you do when you're looking for a product? What do? You look at the product, you look at the description, and then what do? Yeah, you scroll down, right? You want to see, you don't want to be the first one to spend £500 on something that doesn't work. You want to make sure that somebody's made the mistake for you. I can tell you, yes? You want to make safe decision. Again, same thing, when you buy a product from someone, you are looking for triggers that indicate that that person is a safe choice to make. When you have that, then you decide, okay, do I like that person? And then you go into more of the details of, now I want to understand your process. And that's probably why you have probably 2 or 3 conversations with the prospect, yes? Before they even reach out to you, they've already made the research about you. And they've decided if they want to send a message, an email to you, and then have a conversation and so forth. Do you see the process? Does it align? Do you agree? Okay, fantastic. Okay, so let's break it down. So yes, as I explained, the reptilian is the biggest part of the brain. By nature, we are all looking after ourselves, yes? Even if we give back to charity, it makes us feel good. When we're trying to, if we're a CMO of a big company, we want to make sure that we are not hiring the wrong agency. But at the same time, if we hire this agency and they take the business to the next level, it makes us feel great as a great CMO who may be happy on marketing week and so ever. So really remember that we're all self-centered. Remember, as I told you, like if you put your customer as the hero of your story, not you, you are more likely to build a tribe that will buy from you again and again. Does it make sense? Do you agree? Give me a clap if you agree. Yay! All right, we're going to break it down. Does anybody remember that's when Uber launched at the beginning? Do you remember this website? What is great about this website? She looks amazing. She comes out of the car. She doesn't look stressed. She doesn't have to worry. She doesn't have to wear in the rain. And if you look at the heat map, you can see as well they did very carefully place the right button on the right place. You can see the customer is at the center of the story here, and also putting your call to action. You can see moving people works really, really well. So really think in terms of when you think about you communicate to your audience, again, something, how do you emphasize it's about them? You're not for everybody. And I say that all the time. Be very mindful in terms of who do you choose to work with. Because you don't want to wake up and think, I don't want to do this today. It's not people that I want to work with, they're just annoying. They always complain about how much I charge. Find your tribe, because you need to enjoy who you want to work with. It's so important. Second part is obviously about differentiation. Differentiate your claim. Why are you the choice to be made and not anybody else? And I love this campaign. You remember this campaign? It was an old one, but a good one from Apple. Always super effective, yeah? And they played that for some time, and for a long time I said I wasn't a Mac, but I became a Mac, and I fell into the system, and I got an iPod, and I have an iWatch, and I have everything. They got me into the ecosystem. I'm screwed. I'm going to spend so much money. But it works, isn't it? It works. It always works. So think in terms of how can you connect, I know we're talking about neuromarketing, but really think in terms of those brands are great at getting you in, and when you can't get out of this. If you haven't created an ecosystem around your services and your solution, you are missing out on so many great opportunities. Hook them and keep them forever. Again, same thing, Monzo, when they launch as well, something. Think about what's the element that you want to articulate that really makes you a safe choice. Again, something using elements. And again, there's so much power in brand association with your business to really just give your customer your safe choice. Remember when I showed you the brain? The reptilian brain is the smallest part of the entire brain and requires less energy. And this is why it's so important, because most of the decisions that we make are on autopilot. You look at someone and you make an assumption, yes? If I was on stage in a tracksuit bottom, probably would not take me so seriously. But now that I'm wearing those red Louboutins, maybe it's like, maybe she's good at what she does. It's your subconscious talking, right? And you make those decisions, and it's so important. I say that because I got myself into so many places that I probably would never got into when I started my business, because I always knew the power of power dressing. I always power dress, and I say, "Oh, what do you do?" Yeah, I ran a 50-size business, but I didn't have. It was just me, and I blacked myself for things, and that helped me actually open so many doors. I'm not saying that you have to lie. I'm just saying that sometimes it's good to be cheeky. Like, you give clap. Yeah, you have to be cheeky. Sometimes you have to be cheeky, and you never know what might happen. And I always say to people, always ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. All right? So, if you ask me on LinkedIn, you never know what you're going to get. All right, be about tangible. I love this one. Look at the plate number. This is a damn good divorce lawyer. If I get married, I'm going to call them. This is brilliant. Don't tell me how good you are. Show me how good you are. Case studies on your website, again, something like customer review. All these things are so good. Remember I told you, before somebody even call you, they already check you out. A lot of things happen. Drew probably said, I'm going to have as a speaker, but he's probably looked at me at all the things that I do on LinkedIn, like, this girl is active. I've probably decided, let me check what she does before I get on my stage. She doesn't destroy my business, So we did all these checks. So really think in terms of how can you really say, what, you're going to have to work with you. You guys are the best. Something, do not be afraid. The power of customer. Remember we talked about advocacy. Let your customers, your advocate, talk about your brand. It's so much more powerful than you doing it. When's the last time you asked your customer for a testimonial? When's the last time you asked your customer to write a Google review? Whatever platform you use, whatever last time you went on LinkedIn and asked somebody to write your referrals. Do not be shy. And I think that's something that I would say between the French and the English. We are not afraid to ask, yes. We're not afraid to be so kind. You guys sometimes are too modest. And I'm not saying that I'm being generalist, but it's not for everybody. But I want you to be sometimes be a bit cheeky. If you don't ask, you don't get. Do you agree? Yeah. All right. Are you going to ask? Yeah. Okay. All right. And then desire and pain. As much as desire is exciting, like this photo, talk about when you think about your brand, what is the emotion you want to communicate? Yeah, now you're talking to the limbic system. You're not talking to the reptilian brain. What's the emotion that you want to communicate when people think about the brand? Remember at the beginning I say that I take away the overwhelming feeling of building or growing a brand. We want our customers to focus on what they're good at. I don't have to worry about their brand, so they can be great and grow their business. So when you think about the business that you build, what is the feeling associated with your brand? Yes? And if you're able to communicate that feeling through visuals or even just testimonials, video testimonials from your audience, you are a winner. You know, if you think about something, I'll come back to Nike, because we talked about it at the beginning, they focus on this, on this feeling of exhilaration. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it's so important. Like, what is it in you? Everybody's an athlete. You can make it. Everybody's a champion, no matter what you are. When you wear Nike, you feel great, you know? But what is more effective, and I always laugh about it, because I always say that this is why Adele is such a successful, artist. Not because she was obviously a great singer, but she always talked about pain. Because there's more people who have broken heart than happiness, unfortunately. So when you think about your product, can you do a mixture of pain and desire and see what resonates the most? We are much more engaged to fear, like you're going to miss out, you're going to lose 20,000, and so much more than saying what you're going to gain. How interesting the brain works, isn't it? Right? Again, I have this other picture. I have never seen that, but I think I would definitely, if I saw that in my basket tomorrow, I would definitely have a massive impact on me. So really focus on appealing from customers' perspective. This is so important. Obviously, I don't know if many of you have tangible products, but if you do, how can you actually think about your product as always a way of marketing? And I would say that if you have a retail store, if you have a restaurant, your packaging is also your advertising. It shouldn't be just a brown piece of paper. Use every asset at your disposal to ask. Remember, ask QR code. I've seen a lot of QR code. I don't have QR code in my presentation to make you feel any better. But yes, so really ask. All right. So far, so good? Yes? All right. I'm glad that I'm entertaining you and you're learning as well. All right, so we're going to talk about we talked about the emotional through visuals. We talked about that, which is, no, we don't talk about that. So again, something like when you want to communicate something instead of saying it, tell stories. Who tells stories when they talk about the business? Okay, I see half of you are doing it. Why are you not telling stories? So important. It's so easy for you to remember something if you take people through a story. Think about if your company was a movie. If your client came to you, what was the challenge? How did they feel afterwards? What did you do? What did you solve? You really think about how you can tell the story. It's so easy for people to relate to it. When I take prospects I'm talking to for case studies, I want them to feel the emotion, and I want them to feel like, I want that too. I feel like them. I can resonate with this. Yes? So really think in terms of what you're selling to. Oh, I think I'm going backwards. What you're selling to, and again, how people will feel if they use their products. Create envy, make them jealous. Like, oh, I want to work with them. They look amazing. Play hard to get. Whatever works for you, choose your magic. Then that's when we talk about the neurocortex. You remember there's different phases to the communication with your audience. First, they want to feel safe. Then they want to fall in love with you. Now that they fall in love with you, they want to know a bit more. And that's where you can go into this type of conversation. I love this photo because there's only one person smiling. All the others look so miserable. But yes, so think in terms, this is when you talk about your process, you go into the details, how it works, this is what we're going to do, and so much more. By that point, they're just looking for more validation because probably they have the boss above them. They want to make sure that you're not only good at what you do, but also you can deliver the work in a way they expect you to do. All right. So that's for that. And then we talked about testimonials, and this is the last slide I want to leave it. Obviously, we talked about testimonials. I'm a bit of an advocate of my own, recipes. As I mentioned, if you're taking a photo of me on stage and you tell me which part of the presentation you enjoy the most, I will give you a copy of the book. I want to share a story about this book, actually. As you can hear from my accent, as I've said before, I'm not French, but I was very lucky when during the second lockdown, I got stuck in Paris. What a horrible place to be stuck in. And I stayed there for 4 months. But I was very upset when you can see people were starting business or maybe didn't know how to grow their business or sell their services through COVID. And I did something that I never thought I would do, which was writing a book. And imagine, this is probably the most difficult challenge I've ever had, but the most fulfilling when I know that I was able to make an impact on a larger scale. So the reason why I'm saying that to you is that if when you are out there and you think that my stories is not relevant, you never know who you are inspiring. And the knowledge and expertise that you've built for the years will inspire somebody else. So never underestimate yourself, because now the book is doing very great on Amazon, which I'm really proud about. The reason I'm saying the stories is that, when you do something that you love what you do, you will find ways to always be resilient. And coming to this talk and have this conversation and sharing your journey and sharing experiences is so much more. And Drew is doing such a great work at bringing you together and growing your businesses. So yes, that's the end of my presentation. I hope that you enjoyed it. I can see if somebody has a question. Go on. I love her. She's my new best friend. Hold on. Okay. She's definitely going to get that book, she knows that. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Take good extra time. Thank you for enjoying my presentation. It's easy to find me. There's only one Flavilla. Honestly, Google will give it to you. And yeah, if you have a question, I'm always answering. I can see that he's bringing me back on stage, but I really enjoy. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll see you soon.